Welcome back, Nerd Squad. Wolverine is known as being one of the most popular characters in the Marvel Universe. But just because you are the most popular does not mean you are the most invincible. Within the world of Marvel, there are tons of heroes and villains who could beat Wolverine. And outside the world of Marvel, this fact remains the same. There are even tons of indie superheroes that could beat Wolverine. Lots of them, in fact. And today we're here to look at some of the smartest and toughest who would not be afraid to take on Wolverine in a fight as we count down the top 10 indie superheroes who could beat Wolverine. Number 10, Scott Pilgrim. Scott Pilgrim is a character that currently belongs to the publisher Oni Press. He is also a fellow Canadian like Logan. Of course, Scott just appears to be a young man without any powers at first glance, but don't be fooled. He has shown extraordinary courage and skill when it comes to defeating Ramona's evil exes. Now, I'm not saying that Wolverine would be an evil ex. Most of his exes are dead, to be honest, but he has also slept with quite a few people. I mean, every superhero saw a lot of action in the 90s, in my opinion. And Logan was no exception there. So it is possible that Wolverine might end up being a surprise evil ex that Scott could come up against. And if he did, I bet he'd track Scott down and surprise him, which seems to be a good way to have Scott defeat you. Matthew Patel ended up catching Scott off guard and as a result was handily defeated. As long as Scott doesn't have time to get inside his own head, he's a powerful foe. Number 9, Butcher. Billy Butcher is known as being one of the most feared men among his world of supers in the series, The Boys. If he came into the Marvelverse, I'm sure he'd have no trouble disposing of Wolverine just like he would any other superhero. While he may not have Wolverine's insane healing factor or adamantium infused skeleton, Butcher is known for his ruthlessness, his cunning, and his ability to think fast. He is also astoundingly strong and agile. Combine this with the fact that he almost never backs down, and he would definitely be an indie hero who could defeat Wolverine. Number 8, Haunt. Haunt is the combined consciousness of two brothers, Daniel and Kurt Kilgore. Daniel is a corrupt priest who abhorred his brother, while Kurt was a spy and assassin who ended up dying as a result of his profession. Kurt, as a spirit, found himself accidentally combined with Daniel in his body during an attack on Kurt's widow, Amanda. Now combined, the two became the ectoplasm fused and fueled nightmare known as the Haunt. With Kurt's secret agent knowledge and skills in their new Venom-esque and Spider-Man-like spiritual powers, the two brothers within one being are now super agile, super strong, and nigh invulnerable, making them the perfect match for Logan, even with his years of samurai training and experience. Number 7, Spawn. Spawn's demonic cape honestly itself would likely have a good chance of defeating Wolverine, especially in combination with his telepathically linked and early on somewhat self-sentient suit. But for fun, let's also talk about some of the other ways that Spawn could beat Wolverine. Other than his cape, suit, and chains, he also has super strength and speed. He's super agile, he's got necrotic energy blasts, is somewhat immortal, and can teleport. Teleportation alone is an insanely powerful ability when coming up against someone like Wolverine. I've always just felt like any teleporter, you could just teleport him away. Granted, Spawn can really only teleport himself, it seems, but who knows? Maybe he can teleport other people too. We don't know. Number 6, Korra. You might wonder where Aang is on this list if we're talking about avatars. I thought of putting him on here, but ultimately thought his pacifism might be a downside when it comes to taking on Wolverine. Plus, Korra is my favorite avatar. Aang could definitely restrain Wolverine indefinitely and possibly persuade him to stop fighting, but Korra has the potential to completely destroy Wolverine depending on what they're fighting over. She's more ruthless and a little more reckless when it comes to her fighting style, and I think this would give her an edge when it comes to taking on Logan. But then again, any avatar could defeat Wolverine. At their most powerful, they can control all the elements on a master level and have the avatar state, which basically gives them godlike power. So while not invincible or invulnerable fully, they don't really need to be in order to take down Wolverine. Not everybody has to be invulnerable to take down Wolverine, by the way. Number 5, Invincible. Speaking of invincible things, someone who could match and surpass Wolverine in regards to his abilities would definitely be Mark Grayson, aka Invincible from Image Comics. He's the son of Omni-Man, another superpowered being from the universe, which is why he grows up to become a superhero himself, sort of following in his father's footsteps. The story has some great twists, so I'm not going to spoil it for you. Instead, let's focus on Invincible's abilities. He has super strength and enhanced healing factor, super speed, flight, and invulnerability, making him a perfect match for Logan, as they have a similar power set. Also, it's established early on that Invincible can bench press at least 400 tons. So, although they have similar power sets, Invincible is considered way stronger than Wolverine, who at his strongest could probably only lift a single ton, maybe 2 tons. Number 4, Divinity. Abram Adams is from the Valiant universe of heroes. He's a Russian astronaut who ended up getting cosmic powers that granted him the ability to warp reality and basically turn him into a god. When he, as Divinity, returned to Earth, he started to grant people's wishes for a brief time, and his fellow astronauts and comrades, Mishka and Casimir, even warped reality to create the Stalinverse. Reality warping powers are a quick and easy way to disperse of Wolverine, and while he does have some telepathic resistance, I don't think he'd be prepared for the likes of Divinity. The only thing that might stop these two from tangling is that Divinity sometimes prefers to avoid getting involved in conflicts, so he might choose to not engage with Logan depending on the circumstances. But still, if Logan was insistent, he'd probably just be like, "You gone." Number 3, Dream. While some might not consider Dream to be a superhero, in his own series, Sandman, he definitely is. He is the one that we root for, and while initially he's a bit more of an anti-hero, throughout the comics he becomes more and more of a good and kind entity with the intentions of doing what is right, and taking into consideration how his actions impact others in a way that he wouldn't have previous to his imprisonment. Within his realm, the Dream Realm, he is all-powerful, and being one of the Endless, he can never truly be defeated. If he were to take Wolverine into his Dream Realm, and perhaps even if they fought on Earth, Dream would likely still defeat him. Now, whether or not you consider Vertigo, which was an imprint of DC, indie or not, is kinda up to you, but I like to think of indie as being anything that is not explicitly Marvel or DC. And while Vertigo is owned by DC, or was owned by DC, and there is some overlap in regards to characters there, I still would like to think of Vertigo as a smaller and indie publisher. And besides, we have to give it a nice little nod as it no longer exists anymore. Sad. Number 2, Rick Sanchez. Rick Sanchez appears in the Rick and Morty comics made by Oni Press. That's right, there are comics too. Zach Gorman is often the writer behind the comic series involving Rick and Morty. So not only can we now watch their adventures in the television show created by Dan Harmon and Justin Roiland, but now you can read about them too. They also have a ton of board games that are based in the Rick and Morty universe as well, and a lot of them are actually pretty good if you like board games. All the Rick and Morty, 100 years Rick and Morty, forever and ever Rick and Morty. If you know Rick Sanchez and what he is capable of, you know he would be able to come up with some kind of device or poison to kill Wolverine instantly. I imagine the whole thing would go down similarly to the episode where he kills the president's security guard with an instant death touch. Now, while Rick is more of an anti-hero, he saved the world enough times that I think we can loan him an honorary superhero title for the purpose of this list. He's definitely done a lot of good things. Sure, he kills a lot of people, but you know what? Sometimes you gotta do that. Obviously, if I were a superhero, I'd be an anti-hero. Number 1, Saitama. So, this one kind of depends on where the fight goes down, but if Saitama fought against Wolverine in his own story, like if Wolverine just popped up in the world of One Punch Man, Saitama would definitely beat Logan. In his universe, the whole point of his character is that he's basically the strongest person alive, basically an unbeatable Superman in his own world. Not that anyone will give him credit for that. In the world of Marvel, I'm not sure if he'd be as powerful, but I like the idea of Saitama battling the entire X-Men squad and just pretty much messing everything up. I'd like to think that people have enough respect for him in terms of fans, not in terms of his own world per se, that we'd accept him totally kicking Logan's butt. Just one punch and Logan's done. Thank you so much for watching, Nerd Squad. I hope you enjoyed this list. Who are some indie heroes who you think could take on Wolverine? Who are some that you think Wolverine himself would handily defeat? What is your favorite publisher outside of the big two? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And be sure to give this list a thumbs up if you like the world of indie comics, and smash that subscribe if you haven't already. This has been Top 10 Nerd, and I'm your host, Amanda McKnight, reminding you, as always, to stay nerdy, YouTube.